Welcome to the Health Sport Podcast, a podcast in which we discuss with athletes of all levels, health professionals, and key figures of the sport world. Before presenting this episode's guest, please consider sharing this with your friends and loved ones who could benefit from it. Also, I encourage you to subscribe to the show on whichever platform you're listening to. It helps the podcast grow. This episode's guest helps people build a healthier life without restrictions, guilt, or performance pressure. Through her content, programs, and podcasts, she promotes a simple and sustainable approach to nutrition focused on awareness, consistency, and real-life habits. We discuss her journey, the philosophy behind her business Health by Haven, and what it actually takes to create habits that last. Please welcome Haven Quinlan. Haven, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, it's my first international episodes in English, so I'm really happy. You're in New York?
I am in New York City, yes. And I'm very impressed that you're doing this in 2 languages.
Thank you. And I'm in Quebec. It's cold. That's why I'm wearing the hoodie right now.
Yeah, it's freezing here as well. I think it's like 17 degrees, but you're probably much colder.
Yeah. In Fahrenheit, I don't know, but probably around 10 right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cold. You have 80 episodes of a podcast, more than 80, almost 90.
Almost.
You did not miss 1 week for almost 2 years now. You've interviewed Olympians, and you also coach many athletes. You know, when we're learning, the biggest lessons sometimes come from our clients or community. What have your clients or community taught you about health that you didn't expect to learn from them?
That's a great question. I have a couple of answers probably, but I think the main thing that comes to mind is that health and wellness and fitness isn't one size fits all. Something that works for me personally might not work for you. It might not work for one of my clients. And so I think finding uh, different types of fitness that people like, or different meals that people enjoy, or different time schedules, or a little like wellness hacks may work better for one person than for others.
Which one tips that really works for you? How did you find your X in health?
In fitness or nutrition or overall, what do you mean?
In health. So it can be fitness. Oh, for me, the fitness helped me find the balance, or it's more on the nutrition, depending on the answer.
Okay. So mine, I think, actually is sleep. So when I started really getting into learning more about nutrition, learning about how I wanted to exercise my body after I wasn't an athlete on a sports team anymore, and I had to kind of set my own routine. Actually, the thing that like really changed my energy and vitality throughout the day was getting my sleep schedule under control. And I've never been a super late like night owl, but you know, when you're younger, especially like early 20s, college, grad school, and just after, I'd stay up late sometimes with friends, or, you know, you'd be binging a TV show and you don't want to go to bed and waking up, you know, not getting 8 hours of sleep or sleeping in. And then the next morning you have to get up early, and not being consistent was just like kind of a yo yo, like a roller coaster. And learning that, okay, if I go to bed at the same time each night and I wake up at the same time each morning and I'm getting that 8 hours of sleep, it completely changed my day. It put me in a better mood. It cleared brain fog. And then I was more energized to make the foods that were nutritious for me and to get out the door on my run or have a good workout. And it just like bled into every other part of my day.
Do you know the book Why We Sleep?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. I always forget his name. It's Matthew, but it's a book about sleeping, why it's important, and all the benefits of it. It's Matthew Walker.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
He went on Joe Rogan podcast.
Uh-huh.
That's how I learned from him. And after that, like, he also explained why there's people who are night owl and people really
Oh.
early morning people. Uh, and from that perspective, he says like, be gentle with your friends who cannot wake up early. Do what's best for you. For me, it's like working in the morning. It's the
Mhm.
best time for me. Working at nights is the worst. So when you find this balance, it's the perfect one.
Yeah, you and me both. My brain turns off by 5 p.m. I'm like, the words are not wording.
You said you were an athlete before
Yes.
when in high
So
school, college.
yeah, high school and college. I grew up playing a bunch of sports as a kid, but really in sixth grade, I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on dancing. I love it. So I trained at a classical ballet studio, so dance every single day after school. I was on my high school and college dance teams, which was a lot of fun. It was a great way to make friends, but it was also just a really fun way to stay active. I never really had to think about like, oh, like what am I going to do for my workout that day? Because we had practice and team workouts and performances that kept me really active.
Stretching sessions also.
Yeah, a lot of stretching for dance.
How did you start dancing? Was it like with your family? You have a big sister that was dancing and you're like, oh, I'm going to get into it.
No, I wish. I always thought it would be fun to have a big sister when I was growing up. I have two younger brothers, but my mom put me in a bunch of different sports as a kid, different like Parks and Rec soccer and basketball and things like that. But when I was, I think in third grade, she put me into tap, jazz, and ballet classes to see if that was something that I liked. And I loved it. And I moved around a little bit as a kid, but I danced in different states that I lived in. And it was something where I think it's a nice balance between using your creative brain, but also being active and, kind of marrying the art form with the movement.
And now, after dancing, did you continue sports or how did you stay active?
Yeah, it was definitely weird after growing up in sports my whole life. And then after graduating college, not having a team or an organized sport activity. I had dabbled with running a little bit like my senior year of high school. I would go on some early morning runs with my dad before school. Not every day, but I would join him sometimes on his runs. And then I did run my first half marathon in college, but it was a little bit of a one off thing my sophomore year of college. But really, after graduating college, going to grad school, I started getting more into running because I needed to find my own way to be active for my physical and mental health. And so I did a lot more running in grad school. Ran another, I think, one more half marathon when I was in grad school, and then really kind of ramped it up from there with my running. So I've done I can't even count how many half marathons now and six full marathons.
Six.
I'm a little bit addicted, if you say. And in grad school, I also started taking Pure Barre classes. It kind of gave me the feeling a little bit of being back in a dance class setting. Even though you really don't have to have dance experience to take a bar class, there's foundations from ballet bar, and you're in a class again with an instructor. And so I really enjoyed that as well. And I started teaching Pure Barre after I graduated grad school. And I've taught in 3 different states now, 6+ years later. And it's still something that I really love.
What's pure bar?
Yeah.
Like for a guy like me, it's
Yeah.
completely new.
Yeah, great question. So it's so funny because it's like in my day to day, but there's still so many people who don't know what it is. Um, Pure Bar specifically is a brand, is a company of bar. There's lots of different bar companies, but as far as Pure Bar's foundation, it's a little bit of a blend between ballet bar, Pilates, like a mat Pilates, and yoga. So it's kind of a fusion between all of those. So it's a lot of work on balance, on core strength, on flexibility, as well as strength. So there's different class types that'll target different things. Some are more cardio focused, some are more strength training focused with heavier weights. The classic classes are really light weights, really small movements, targeting those teeny tiny muscle groups. It seems like, oh, pulsing 1 inch is like not a big deal, but it really starts to burn. So for anyone who hasn't tried it, I would definitely recommend.
There's one thing about the dancer. I did one time a stretching session with a
Uh-huh.
dancer,
Uh-huh.
and I'm quite flexible as for a guy, like
Hmm.
even for someone normal. But when you go do a stretch session with a dancer, you find out that you're not stretching. Do you put the emphasis into stretching and position during the pure bar session you do?
Yeah, so you'll work different muscle groups. So you'll start with a warm up and some weights for the upper body, but you kind of do like a quick stretch in between each muscle group. So do some weights, stretch out the upper body. Do some thigh sets, stretch out the thighs. Do some seat stretch, stretch out the seats. Do some abs, stretch that out, and then there's like a bit of a longer stretch at the end. So that's kind of typical flow for the class, but there is one of the class types called align, and that one's a bit more focused on both balance and flexibility. So, kind of the first half of that class, balance work, core work, and really the second half is all stretching. So, that's when I should take more often because while I used to be flexible as a dancer, it's been, a decade or so since I was on a dance team. And since I'm a runner, now my muscles are like shorter and tighter. And
Yeah.
I definitely need to work on stretching more.
I, when you explain it, I I think about how's the ambience? Do you have music, or does it looks like spinning with big loud speakers coming through, or depending on the course?
Definitely not as intense looking as spin studios. It kind of depends on what studio you're in because within the last year, some of the studios have started to incorporate different colored lighting. My studio here in New York City has just like regular white lights for now, but we dim them halfway through the class when you get into like the ab section. So you can kind of tune people out around you and like really kind of get into your core work and everything. And then for the align classes, it's dim most of the class because it's a little bit of a like calmer, more yoga esque vibe. But yes, there's definitely music, lots of good playlists to pick from. That's very important because it is a beat driven workout. So you are doing moves to the songs for the most part.
Could we say it's like Zumba, but with a little bit more classical type of movements?
Yeah, maybe. I think Zumba's a little like jazzier, a little bit dancier. This is a little bit more like Pilates, but similar.
Okay. And would you say you do more pure bar or running right now as activities?
Good question. It kind of depends on if I'm training for a race or not. So last fall, I ran the New York City Marathon, and marathon
Congrats.
training is no joke. I mean, you've really got to dedicate your time to it. So, when I was training for the marathon, it was 18 weeks, and it was me running 5 days a week and doing cross training like 1 day a week. So, it was a lot less bar and a lot more running. But since the race was over, I like to kind of ebb and flow and do it in cycles so my body doesn't break down and like you just get tired of it after a while. You need a little break. And so since November, since that race, I've been focused a lot more on taking bar classes and Pilates classes. It's just kind of what my body is like craving, after like so much impact and forwards movement in running. It feels nice to have some lateral movements or to have some ups and downs and to have like less high impact, high intensity workouts.
Definitely. For me, I spend a lot of time with Team Canada with the many sports, and what I found out that really elite athletes always take about 1 month off of their sports. And the way I was thinking about it is that you can train 11 months in a row, but you cannot train 5 years in a row, 6, 7, 8, 10 years in a row when you're an elite athlete, or even if as an amateur. You train for your own marathon, take a break, do something else. There's
Yeah.
something else. There's something more in life than just running or just triathlon or
Yeah.
have
It's good
fun.
to put that into perspective sometimes too.
Give a, you said it well, is like it's not just the body you give a break, it's also the brain.
Yeah.
Focusing on something else. Another part of the brain's working with
Yes.
something else.
Yeah. Agreed.
Do some stretching. I started yoga this Christmas time
Oh, yeah.
because
How are you liking
I'm in
it?
the break. Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I went Sunday, and it was a hips session of
Mm.
like the outline you were talking about, more stretching, hot yoga. It was hot yoga,
Mm.
but oh my god! Even yesterday, I still had spasms in my bum just because the muscle was relaxed, and I,
Yeah.
I probably do some tie in my back. So
Uh-huh.
I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. That's great to get some mobility.
When you're also a coach, so
Hmm.
you coach people to. Can you explain what you do as a coach? Let's
Yeah,
start with that.
sure. Sure. So I am in school at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to get my holistic health coaching certification. And so in during COVID, I did my first certification online through Cornell University to get my certificate in nutrition and healthy living. And so I've worked with some clients on and off since then, to work on just like healthy foundations, building healthy habits, learning how to build a balanced meal, things like that. It's very personalized to what they're looking for. But I also have worked with some running clients who want a little bit of help getting coached to their next race. Maybe it's their first distance race, or maybe they're trying to cut some time off of their overall time, get a little bit faster. And so I've also worked with some clients doing that as well. It looks like weekly one-on-one sessions, where we hop in together, and I don't have all the answers. I'm not teaching them everything, but I'm helping them kind of understand what's the next best step for me to achieve my goal, and how do I build these habits and build this lifestyle that's sustainable.
Do you have any pillars or foundation with the general health that you promote and help people in?
Yeah, I think that health is about the whole person and the whole body. So I don't know about you growing up in Canada, but in the US, I feel like a lot of times we're very focused on nutrition and on exercise, but that's kind of it. And I've learned through my schooling and just life experience that it's so much more than that. It's the sleep, like we talked about, it's stress management and regulating your nervous system, and it's financial health, and it's career health. Are you happy and fulfilled in your job every day? It's about finding community and finding ways, like hobbies, things that are bringing you joy and lighting you up, because if you're eating broccoli every day but you're alone and depressed and you hate your job, like you're still not going to be healthy.
With all your experience, you do help athletes, running athletes,
Mhm.
to get better if they want help. But how your personal experience with dancing, with bar, with your running experience can
Mhm.
help you coaching those athletes?
Yeah, I think it helps me be empathetic when people are having a rough patch. I'm like, yep, I've been there too. Like it's not linear. It's very frustrating, and this is like with any goal in life. But as you start to work your way towards a goal and you're seeing progress and you're getting so excited, and then you have a setback in life or in sport, it can be like, whoa, 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 what happened? I don't. I don't know what happened. I was doing so well last week, but that's normal. And so I think, I've experienced that plenty of times. So when my clients experience things like that, I can help them put it into perspective and say, like, it's not the end of the world. If you had a bad run, it doesn't mean you've lost all your fitness or you're automatically going to be a horrible runner or a slower runner. It just maybe meant your body just need a little rest and I need a little reset. And we're going to get back out there and you'll be stronger for it mentally because if you have a tough spot in a race, you can think back, oh, well, I remember I had that really tough run, but I got through it. And then my next run, I was even stronger.
Did you have any injuries when you were running or practicing dancing?
Yeah, nothing super major, which I'm very thankful for. I did have a weird, like, sprain bone injury when I was dancing at one point. So, had to be in the little like ice splint and get taped up by the trainers and everything, and be sidelined for a few games that like we would dance and cheer at basketball and football games for my school. So that was frustrating, but that was like me tweaking it while doing a spin during practice. But as far as running goes, I've dealt with some bouts of plantar fasciitis. I think a lot of runners can relate to that when you're putting in really high mileage every week. But I do my best now knowing that I'm prone to that, especially in my right foot, to when I start to feel it, listen to my body, pull back a little bit, do things to help rehab it and rest it. So a lot of like elevating, icing, using like I have one of those like scraper tools. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Like I'll like
Yeah.
scrape the bottom of my foot or I'll like roll it on a tennis ball, things like that. I love my Theragun. I don't use it on my foot, but like as far as muscle recovery goes, like having one of those is excellent if you can afford to get I have like the mini, so it's great for travel as well. I think it's like $100 if you're willing to like invest that. I think it's a really great muscle recovery tool to help kind of like work out any knots or tension, be able to get back out there a little bit sooner and to keep your body well.
If there's a listener that is having an injury right now or bad week, do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, it's so hard. And it's really easy to beat yourself up about it or to like blame yourself for something, but try to give yourself a little grace. And I like to stay in my rhythms, even if it's a rest day or I'm having an injury where I can't get out. I love a morning run or a morning bar class. If I can't get out and do my workout in the morning, I still, as long as I'm getting enough rest, try to wake up at the same time and use that time maybe just sit on the floor and stretch. Kind of stay in a routine where I'm feeling like I'm active, even if I'm not pushing my body to the limit, because it helps me mentally. And I think that's a way to kind of like release some of that energy that you might have if you're injured and you can't get out on the run. Use that time for something else that's going to help you get back out there.
Yeah. It's not because you're not running, going full speed, that you're not progressing. If you're
Yeah.
going slower, but you're still making progress, at that time, you need to rest.
Mhm.
It's part of the job to rest sometimes.
It
And it's a
is.
great idea to continue keeping the routine.
It just kind of feels like a morning ritual,
Or the evening if you're night owl.
or the evening. I can't relate to you night owls, but yes.
Yeah. There's one thing about your website. There's really beautiful pictures about food.
Oh, thank you.
You have recipes. How you studied in nutrition, so I must think that you really like nutrition and it's a big pillar of your practice.
Mhm.
Do you think there's sleep, but do you think nutrition is more important than physical activity?
It's really hard for me to pick one over the other. I think they're both really foundational. You can't eat like garbage and then expect to run and feel well, and vice versa. I don't think you can eat, quote, perfectly nutritious meals all day long, but never move your body and expect to feel well. I think they work hand in hand. And the more you're fueling your body well, nourishing it with whole foods that are going to fill you up and energize you, the better you're going to perform in whatever your sport or exercise of preference is, and vice versa, right? When you have a really great workout, you want to eat something that's going to complement that. You want some protein to replenish your muscles. Maybe you want like a big crunchy salad or smoothie if it's the summer and it's hot out to kind of get your hydration back. So I think they both really go hand in hand.
Do you always add facility with cooking, coming up with recipes and everything? Do you like cooking?
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard sometimes on a busy day. It will start to feel like a chore, just like anyone else, but it's a great way for me to channel my creativity. I grew up loving to bake and I still do. I don't have a ton of baking recipes on my website because I love to try other people's. And, you have to be a little bit more particular with your measurements when you're baking. But I find when you're cooking, there's so much more leeway. You can throw things in that aren't in the recipe. You can swap out if it's calling for arugula, but all you have is kale, or almond butter and peanut butter. Like it's really easy to swap things out. You could add different spices in, add different grains in. And I think it's just really fun to like play around in the kitchen because it's hard to mess stuff like that up.
For people who cooking is not really easy or intuitive,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any tips that you usually give? It's one question I really like to ask for to nutritionists and recipe creators, I would say, because they always have little tricks that sometimes nobody knows.
Yeah. So I would say, one, don't take yourself so seriously. Like you can have a little fun in the kitchen. It's okay. And don't start out with a super complex multi-hour meal. That's like very overwhelming. Just like you wouldn't start out with a 20-mile run if you've never run before. So you want to pick recipes that have a couple of ingredients that you enjoy. Maybe there's a few that you haven't had but you want to try. That's totally fine. And like I said, pick something that you can make swaps for easily and that don't have to be a particular measurement. So first of all, I have a ton of recipes for free on my website. If you're curious, you can go to healthbyhaven.com and try any of them out. But I don't think I have any recipes on there that would take you more than 30 or 45 minutes. I mean, I'm enjoying my time in the kitchen, but I don't want it to take me all day long. So any sort of salad or bowl is a great one where it's hard to mess it up. You don't have to have a perfect ratio. You can put any sort of grain, any sort of green, and then put your favorite toppings. So if it's wintertime, are you cooking like root vegetables and winter squashes and warming things? And maybe you're mixing in like some goat cheese or vegan cheese if you are dairy free, putting in some protein, whether it's meat or chickpeas or legumes or, quinoa or tofu, whatever that looks like for you. And you can play around with it and you can't really mess it up. Same with like a smoothie. I think those are really hard to mess up as well. Like pick a liquid. It could be a dairy milk, a dairy free milk, or water, coconut water, whatever. Put in some fruits, put in some veggies. I like to make sure I have a protein source and a fat source in there. So maybe some protein powder, maybe some almond butter, and blend it all up. And if it's too thin, add in like I like frozen fruits and veggies because I like mine really thick. But if you want yours drinkable and it comes out too thick, add some more liquid. Like it's hard to mess that up as well. So I would say like a salad in a bowl or a smoothie would be really great ones to start with.
That's really great ideas. There was one thing for me when my friends ask me how can I start to cooking or how to improve in cooking. I'm like, take a really easy recipe and build it over time. So the first time you do it, okay, it tastes like this. The next week when you try to do it again, what can I change? Or, oh, I want it more spicy. What can you do to add spices? You have sriracha, you have kombucha, you have chili flakes. You can start to play with that, and from there, you always have your base. It's the same easy recipe that you just build up and build.
Yeah, that's a great idea because, you just have to practice if you expect to improve. You can't expect to be perfect the first time you do something.
For me, I went the hard way. I tried tiramisu. So I'm working on the tiramisu a lot.
Oh, wow.
But I learned the different techniques and it's a little bit more advanced. But it's one way to find out, I can swap the white eggs for cream.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. One of my favorite desserts. You just send that my way anytime if you need a taste tester.
Noted. In one podcast you did with your friend, the draft book. I don't have the name written down.
Yeah.
You told that during COVID, you read a lot of books about nutrition. Is there one book that really changed how you view nutrition?
Great question. Yes, a couple actually that I can think of during that time. And that's right before I started school at Cornell. The first one, ironically, it's a cookbook, not a regular book. And actually, I have it right here. It's called Party in Your Plants. And the author is Talia Pollock. And I believe she actually lives in upstate New York, but she wrote this vegetarian cookbook. And basically the whole basis is, her tagline here, 100 plus plant-based recipes and problem-solving strategies to help you eat healthier without hating your life. And I just love her philosophy on cooking and eating well because she makes it fun and she talks about like you have to have flavor in every healthy recipe or you're just not going to keep coming back to it, And so I think she does or she used to do some stand-up comedy as well. So it's very funny. I really read it like a book, even though it's a cookbook. She has like different anecdotes all throughout it that like aren't recipes, and it's very funny. So that was one that really made a difference for me, that like food can be fun and you can experiment and it can taste really good and also be nourishing for your body. Not just junk food tastes good. And then another one is called Fiber Fueled. And that really taught me about the power of fiber in our diet and why eating such a variety of different plant sources can completely change your gut microbiome versus maybe eating the same 3 vegetables, every week forever. And it's very like science nerdy, but I think the author also writes it in a very digestible way where you don't have to be a dietitian or a doctor to read it and reap the benefits. You can pick it up as someone who knows nothing about nutrition and learn something.
Oh, nice. Are you vegetarian?
I am, yes.
That's the book solved it a little bit.
Yeah. But I will say, and my recipes are vegetarian, but my husband, when we met, at least he was the opposite. He would basically only eat meat and potatoes. And he's since become a much more well-rounded eater. But a lot of the recipes that I cook, he'll either eat vegetarian or he'll cook, a meat protein to add in. And so I wouldn't don't knock the vegetarian recipes, even if you're a meat eater.
Yeah. There's some flavors you can get only with the veggies for real, and nuts, fruits.
Yeah.
Dry cranberries in a salad. Usually it's a great winner.
So good.
Do you have 5 essential to have in your fridge at all time?
I love this question. Okay, some sort of plant-based milk. I don't do a ton of dairy just because it doesn't agree with my stomach, but some sort of plant-based milk for smoothies and for coffees and matchas and things. I like making my own. I know that's so like hippie granola, but it's really easy. You can literally just soak the nuts so they get really soft, and then you blend it with water and you've made your own nut milk. So I always have that. I always have some type of greens because I have a salad pretty much every day for lunch. So I'm on an arugula kick lately, but it kind of changes depending on my mood. I always have blueberries. That's my favorite fruit, one of my favorite foods. So I'll either throw those in a smoothie or a yogurt bowl, or I'll just have them as a snack. What else? This isn't the fridge necessarily, but I always have chocolate as well.
Oh yeah.
Dark chocolate is my favorite, and so I think, everything in moderation. I'm going to eat my veggies, my fruits, but I'm also going to eat my chocolate. What? That's 4. One more.
Yeah.
Nut butter as well. Either almond butter or peanut butter. I used to be on a huge almond butter kick, but right now I'm on a peanut butter kick. And you can throw it in your smoothie. You can top it your yogurt or your cereal. You can have a spoonful. I've been having like stuffed dates as dessert a lot. Like putting some nut butter in like a medjool date is like, oh, so good. So yeah, I always have that as well.
Dates are so underrated in Northern America.
Yeah, they're delicious though. You've got to get the good
And
stuff though, because a medjool date is so different than like the little dried out ones.
yeah, I travel a little bit into the Middle East,
Mm.
and like in if you go there during Ramadan, for them
Mhm.
it's like Christmas. For everyone who doesn't know, and at that time when they break the fast every
Mhm.
night, they usually make a huge dinner with a
Mhm.
lot of sweets.
Oh.
But the sweets, like they in the grocery store, they were like alleys of chocolates, but it's uh, almond
Mhm.
into a date, and
Mm.
the date is dipped into chocolate.
Oh, sounds so good.
And like you have natural sugar,
Uh-huh.
you have fibers,
Uh-huh.
you have vitamins, and the date with the dates, it's really a great fruit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love chocolate, but like nature has its own candy too, right? Like fruits,
Yes.
dried fruits, dates, like that's all naturally sweet and delicious.
Do you put sometimes chocolate, dark chocolate, in your yogurt with raspberries?
So I've put cacao powder, which is like a chocolatey flavor. I haven't used like a hard chocolate, like a melting chocolate or anything, but I love a chocolate yogurt bowl. I actually had that this morning. And so I like to sift some like raw cacao powder into my yogurt so that it will like mix in really smooth instead of clumpy. And then I'll top that. Like today, I topped it with some peanut butter and some blueberries, and it is so delicious. Would highly recommend.
Is the recipe on your website?
Yes, yes. People can find it there.
Do you sometimes go back into your website just to find recipes for your daily life?
Yeah. So I'm terrible at writing down what I am creating. That's the problem with being creative in the kitchen and then sharing recipes out. I'm like, oh, should have measured that. So then I have to like make it again a few times to make sure I have the measurements right before I share them out. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, I'm feeling like a little bit blocked in the dinner space. I don't know what I want to make for dinner this week. So sometimes I will go back and scroll through, and like I actually did that today, and I sent to my husband, "Oh, we need to make these butternut squash taquitos that we hadn't made in a while. So we're going to do that for dinner tomorrow
That's nice.
night."
um, on your Instagram, last December,
Mm,
you did a 24 days challenge. If I
12 days.
12
Yeah.
days. What was the challenge?
So it wasn't a challenge necessarily, but it was 12 days of healthy holidays. And so I shared a different Health by Havenified recipe every day. Some were recipes that you could put on your dinner table at Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. And then some were like fun little treats or snacks that you could have throughout the holidays. I don't know about you, but my family, like when we all go back to my parents' house for Christmas, it's a full house and it's like a little bit of chaos in like the best way. But we're all always gathering around in the kitchen with lots of different snacks and treats. And so I wanted to have some ideas for that as well, not just for mealtime. So, like, for instance, when we were talking about the stuffed dates with chocolate, I did little like Christmas tree date bites. And so I like shaped the dates into triangles. I had nut butter on them. And then I like dipped them in coated chocolate and put like a little pretzel in the bottom as like the tree stump. So it's like little things like that. It's not hard to make, but I think food should be an art form as well. Like I love making a snacking board, a charcuterie board. And so like making the dates, just taking the extra little bit of time to make them look Christmassy. Like I just think it's so fun and a great way to like share a healthier sweet snack with everyone.
Do you have one sweet or treats from your childhood that you like? Oh, this is I need when you move to New York City, you're like, I'm gonna continue to do this recipe.
Oh, that's such a good question. So every year at Christmas, my family would always do the rollout cookies where you use the cookie cutters and then you can frost them and decorate them in different ways. And so I haven't made them here in my apartment. It's a very small kitchen, so there's not a ton of space to, like use the rolling pin and roll out the dough, but every time I go back to my parents' house for the holidays, that's I think the number one thing that me and my siblings are like, well, we have to make the Christmas cookies. And so it's a fun tradition.
How emotional food can become for someone? Do you have any clients that had difficulty with the relations toward food?
Yeah, I think a lot of food and emotions are connected more than we think. Whether it's like we just mentioned, it's a family tradition and so it's a happy emotion, or whether you're going through a really rough day or rough time and you want to grab, I think the typical thought is like you go through a breakup and you eat a pint of ice cream. Like food and emotions are very connected in our culture, I think, at least in the US and probably a lot of the world. So it's hard sometimes to break those patterns. Like if you're having a stressful day, like you want to grab, the junk food or the highly processed, highly palatable foods. And so that is a challenge for sure to work through with people to find a healthier alternative. And I like to think of what can we swap or what can we add in versus what can we take away? Because I think that deprivation is where people can really go off the rails because they're like, oh, this is all I want. And they're craving it. And that's all they're thinking about. And finally, like they're going to break and they're going to binge on it. And then they're going to feel like, oh, I'm so horrible. I like broke this rule. Whereas if we can think, well, let's supplement with we're going to have our chocolate at night. Cool. Let's also have a big handful of blueberries with them. Things like that, where you can kind of crowd out those more processed foods that you might reach for when you're having a rough emotional time and add in some things that are going to help nourish your body and your mind a little bit more as well.
Between swapping for an alternative or controlling your portion size, did you find any more success with one way or the other, or really depending on the person?
Yeah, I think it's very individual to the person. And it might even be different depending on what the food is for them? Like someone might be really good with being like, yeah, I can just have one cookie and it's no big deal. But that might be the gateway for someone else to eat the entire package of cookies. And so I think it depends on the person and what method works best for them.
Since we're talking about emotion, there's another pillar that you write on your website about your business of coaching. It's mental health. Usually in the podcast, I always have a section about mental health, and there was one quote that I found during my research about you that really stuck with me. when you put your season 3 of your podcast post on Instagram, it's written entrepreneurship can be lonely, especially when you're an extrovert. I'm also an extrovert. Entrepreneurship can be lonely, will be lonely, especially for an extrovert. I'm going to say it again because it really struck with me. How do you deal with that through the year?
Yeah, it's not always easy. I'm not going to lie. Like, I thrive off of human connection. And so when I'm here in my little space working alone all day, most days, it can be really tough. So if you're feeling that, like, know that you're not the only one feeling that. And it doesn't matter what it looks like online for people. You know, a lot of times people are showing their highlight reels and they're not showing when they're having a really tough time. So just keep that in mind. But the ways I try to combat it, one, I host a podcast. So I get to blab with people at least once a week, which is lovely. And then going on other podcasts like this is so much fun for me as well. I also have two interns who help me on my team. And so maybe if you're an entrepreneur and you aren't at the point where you can build up your team to a bunch of other full time people to work with, maybe there's a college nearby and there's students who are looking for experience. That's been a great way to have some more connection. And then thinking of things outside of your entrepreneurship that you can get that human connection from. So for me, it's teaching Pure Barre classes. You know, I teach 9 classes on a normal week. And so I'm seeing a lot of people in the studio when I'm teaching, and I'm getting to chit chat with them before and after class. I also go to Run Club almost every week, once a week. And so I'm chatting with other people when I'm running, because that can also be a very lonely sport if you're running alone all the time, especially after being on a team. And then spending time with friends or family, or if they're not nearby you, FaceTime them. Or if they're super busy, like my best friend's a mom of 2 little kids and she lives states and states away. And so a lot of times we voice memo each other because it feels a little bit more like connection than just text. But we can't always both like be on the phone at the same time talking back and forth. So we'll send little voice memos back and forth, and it kind of feels like a little bit of a phone call. So trying to find different ways. There's a knitting club that I just found out about, and I haven't knitted in years. I used to do this as a kid. And I was like, wait, I kind of want to do that again. So I think I'm going to go to the knitting club this week. So just finding like little activities like that where you can find connection, even if it's not in your day to day job.
Running club, I think there's like two really good aspect from it. You get to move, but it also makes you think about sport, not into performance base, but more into community and doing it for fun. There's probably running clubs that are going for paces and performance, but I think most of them, I know in my hometown, there's a lot of running clubs, but they are all friendly and friend pace, no drop pace. Those kind of communities, you just start to love the sport even more and enjoy it, not because you're doing a time, but because you're doing it with friends or people you don't know that become friends at the end.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So I'm just thinking about running into New York City.
Yeah.
So I live in Dubai for 3 months a couple of years ago. And I know that running in big cities, international cities, can be quite tough. How do you manage? And in New York City, you have snow. In Dubai, there's no snow. But how do you manage to overcome those obstacles that you can face by doing outside sports when you're living in a really big city?
Yeah. So right now, unfortunately, I've been having to make friends with the treadmill, which is way less fun than running outside, in my opinion. But it's been super, super cold here. But more than just the cold, I don't mind to bundle, but it's been snowy. And so then it's icy, and I don't want to fall and injure myself because that'll, of course, take me out of sports for a while. So this weekend I had treadmill runs, which was less fun. I'm lucky that I have that alternative in my building, but for the most part, I like to find actual running paths in the city. I found it very annoying to run through city blocks where I have to dodge pedestrians and I have to keep stopping at traffic lights. So I'm lucky that in Manhattan, there's some great paths, both along the East River and the Hudson River. And then, of course, there's Central Park, which is quite famous. And so there's a million little routes you can take through there, but there's a big, like, 6 mile loop that a lot of runners and walkers and bikers will take as well. So I just try to prioritize either running in the park or running on one of those paths along the water.
That's nice. You talked a little bit about your podcast earlier.
Mm.
I did the introduction with the podcast also. Health by Haven. And you've doing it since June 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I don't miss it. And you did not miss a week. I've scrolled through from the beginning.
You really did
just to
your
make sure.
research.
I did it because sometimes I have the weakness to compare myself, as we could say. But I find out that usually podcasts in French, they do skips sometimes episodes and everything. So when I've checked with you, it's 88. It's enough. It's not too small, but it's big enough to be like a long process. And you did not miss a week. What's your secret to stay consistent with your podcast? I'm just asking, like, for someone.
Yeah. Well, maybe you've got some other podcasters listening, or people could translate this to other projects they have. But so when I decided to start it, first of all, I bought the equipment. I spent months and months researching on Google. I didn't know anyone who had a podcast. Finally decided on the equipment, bought all of it, and it sat on my shelf for a full year. So if anyone's listening and they have a dream, but they're like kind of scared to start or they're feeling overwhelmed, like, you're not alone. That happened to me as well. And finally, I got tired of staring at all these boxes of things that I bought. And I was like, Haven, just do it. So I forced myself. And it's scary to be a beginner, and I'm still a recovering perfectionist. So it's really hard, especially at the beginning when I'm not perfect at something, to make myself do it. But putting something out there publicly, like a podcast, was good accountability for me to just try and then continue to improve, build the plane as you're flying it, as the expression goes. And so when I was getting started, I had, I think, 5 or 6 episodes that I recorded before I launched. So I knew, I've got a couple of weeks to get my feet under me, while I continue to reach out to people to be guests on the show. So that definitely helped me get a good foundation to get started. And then from there, I don't know. I think this is the first time, and I'm 30. This is the first time in my life where I felt like this is coming easily to me. Like, I feel so aligned with what I'm doing. I love all aspects of the podcast. I love the chatting the most, of course, getting to know the guest, but the preparation for it, the editing, the uploading, all of that, like, it doesn't feel like work to me. I can get kind of lost in it. And I feel very lucky in saying that, because there's been many other things I've done for work that feels like I'm bashing my head against the wall, like, why is this so hard? Why am I not enjoying this? And so I'm not saying that to, like, brag, like, oh, this comes so easy to me, but it's just something that I truly enjoy. And I've considered taking some breaks between seasons, but then I have people that I just want to talk to. And so, there's only so many Mondays in a year, and I just keep it going. And so it's been kind of an ebb and flow of, like, people I've reached out to invite on the show, or people that friends or friends of friends send and say, hey, I think this could be a really cool person to talk to, or people who are pitching themselves into my inbox every single day, of, oh, I'm so and so, and I do XYZ in the health space and I'd love to come on your show. So it's been a really good mixture of all of those. And of course, as you grow this show, more people will reach out to you versus the other way around. But yeah, it's definitely it's a lot of work. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of hours. The part that's my least favorite is doing the video clips to put on social media, if I'm being honest. But that's just because like short form social media is just not my favorite. But the podcast itself, I think I've just kept consistent because it's something that I truly find joy in. So I would just encourage people find the thing that is fun to you. And if you do something for a while and then you're like, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, like, that's okay. Try something else.
For me, it's posting.
Yeah.
Because I do have a background in editing. So for me, editing is still a bit fun.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm at a point that I can try to start optimizing each clips and okay, I have my basic to do my baseline is easy, but then I can tweak one aspect or the other aspect, add music, modify the music. This is fun, but posting, it's like, oh my god, just go on Instagram, okay, so share TikTok. Oh my god, that part is the worst.
Yeah.
But earlier you said I had the same thing as you. Before posting my first episode, I had 5 or 6 also recorded before. I think it's the second best advice you can get if you want to start a podcast. Is like it takes off a lot of weight from your shoulder. And the fun part was like when the first episodes came out, I had some friends who were telling me, "Oh, you should try to fix that and that point." Oh, sometimes this is funny. I'm like, I have already 5 episodes done. It's already fixed. Don't worry. From that, so when you post your first episode, you will still feel like a newcomer into the medium, but you know that you already are better from your 5th recording than from your first. And the first best advice is if you want to do it, start.
Yes, I love that.
And you have waited 1 year.
Yeah.
And me, since 2019, I wanted to start a podcast even before the COVID. And I was too scared to do it alone. So I was asking friends. And every time my friends were like, oh, no. No. So at one point I was like, okay, I'm doing it alone. I'm going to choose my subject. It took me about 6 months to find the subject. Really. And I was thinking about different type of subjects since 2019. But when I choose my subject, I said, the question I was asking myself, probably you had the same question. Will I want to talk about this subject in 6 months?
Yeah.
Do I love the subject enough that every week I'm going to talk about it? And in 6 months, I'm still going to want to talk about this subject.
Yeah, because it's a lot of your time.
It's a lot. You're going to have a lot of discussion about it. So if you don't like it, for me, I was thinking about cinema.
Yeah.
But like after 6 months, like I love watching movies. But having to watch movies, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies a week just to do reviews, like, oh, this is going to be hard.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's hard when you turn your hobby into a bit of a chore. Then are you going to enjoy it anymore?
It's the same thing with sport. There's a timing in your career as an athlete that your hobby, you're probably doing since you're 6 years old, sometimes 10, 15. And now you're becoming 24, 25. It's going to be your full-time job. It's what makes you pay for rent, pay for food. And if you know athletes or Olympians, you know that training is 7 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't get time off.
you don't get time off here. As we said earlier, your rest is part of the training.
Yeah. And how you eat and how you sleep. I mean, all of it.
From your podcast, is there one episode that impacted your daily life? Which episode impacted your life, your daily life?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. It's so hard. I've had so many wonderful guests on. I feel like I'm like trying to choose a favorite child. Well, the one that was the most like pinch me moment, I'm not sure if this fully answers your question, but when I interviewed Dina Castor, who's an Olympian, an American record holder, runner, for people who don't know her, would highly recommend looking her up. She's incredible, but she also has a book called Let Your Mind Run that I would highly recommend. I reread it every time I'm training for a marathon. And it's all about how mindset can affect your performance in sport. And I think there's a lot of crossovers to life as well. So when I talked to her, as much as we, of course, talked about her running career, she's now retired from running, but we talked about her running career and we talked about the Olympics and setting American records and all of these flashy titles. But we also talked a lot about how she not only trained her body, but she trained her mind. And I do think about that episode a lot, as well as what she writes about in her book, is like your mindset is your reality. So it's how you view the world and how you tackle problems every day. And so, yeah, I think about that a lot. And I think that a lot of people could benefit from listening to her. I mean, she's, of course, on my show. She goes on a lot of other podcasts as well. So I'm sure you can find an episode with her that you relate to. But yeah, that's probably the one.
I have one last question that I ask every guest.
All right.
What does health mean to you?
Health means feeling your best and being happy. So, not every day we're going to be our happiest selves. And not every day we're going to feel our best. But kind of like I mentioned earlier, like if you're eating broccoli every day, but you're mad at the world and, you're playing a victim and, things aren't going well, like you're not truly healthy. And so I think finding ways to find joy in your days, even if you're going through something hard, like what's one thing you could do each day to enjoy your life. I think that's really what health is about, is like giving us the vitality to feel good and to be able to enjoy the things in life.
It's a really short and sweet answer that you just give. I think it can resonate. When you feel your best and you are happy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Haven. If any listener wants to find you on internet, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. Everything's at Health by Haven. So Instagram is probably the place of like short form content I'm most engaged with. Although, to be honest, long form is my favorite. So Health by Haven podcast can be found on any podcast player, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. And I also have a Substack where I get to write a little bit longer form, and that's Health by Haven Substack. You can find it at healthbyhaven.substack.com. And then, yeah, if you want any healthy recipes or if you want to work with a health coach, healthbyhaven.com, or you could message me on Instagram.
And if you're in New York, there's a Pure Bar.
Yeah, come take my class at Pure Bar.
Haven, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you to have listened to this episode of the show. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, leave a rating and review. It really does help. And for more content, please follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. See you next time.